Today we would like to talk about composition, rhetoric, and grammar. How they are intricately, interrelated. What's the role of grammar in rhetoric, and what's the role of grammar in composition? That's something we will talk about here. Okay. So talking about grammar and rhetoric, there's an article which has been posted to your, Georgia view as well. Making a case for rhetorical grammar by Laura R. Michi. This is an article that talks about the importance of grammar and grammatical choice, to, uh, you know, to communicate in a way you want to communicate to your audience in a way you want to. So the effectiveness or persuasiveness of your writing also rely on the choice of grammar, or how you weave in your, the syntax or semantics, or how you structure it. That is something determine the effectiveness of your writing. Let me read a quote from Michi's article, making a case for rhetorical grammar. This is one of the readings I have posted to your site as well. The grammatical choices we make, including pronouns, use of including pronouns and pronoun use, active or passive verb construction, and sentence patterns, represent relations between writers and the world they live in. Word choice and sentence structure are an expression of the way we attend to the words of others, the way we position ourselves in relation to others. Okay, so that's why these days, I mean, yes, we if you start focusing more on grammar, you might fail to bring in the right content. Sometimes some writers, some authors say so, but again, without the efficacy, or without the right or proper grammar, you also will fail to communicate the right content to the audience in a right way. Okay, so that's why, again, you know the more effective the composition is, the more proper organization of the composition is, the better the communication becomes. Okay, so that's why we always want to think about the rhetorical aspect that grammar brings in. That's something we would like to you would like to focus on in this the class. So again, talking about composition, grammar, and rhetoric, we would like to talk about the what composition really is, and what grammar is, and what the rhetoric is, and how these three things are interrelated. So talking about composition, we tend to define in general, the general, the makeup, or a thing, or a person, or an essay, right? That's, as a whole, we can talk about composition. It's how you compose. Grammar is a system of rules and principles for speaking and writing a language, and rhetoric is an art of making the language effective, persuasive, and communicative. So, when you are very aware of these three things, the composition, grammar, and rhetoric, and what kind of elements come into play when we talk about composition, when we talk about grammar, and when we talk about rhetoric, when you blend these three things in your writing, perhaps that will help you make your writing, or even if it is in the context of a speech, more communicative and effective. Okay, so going back to another slides here, again going back to the same article, making a case for rhetorical grammar. The author brings in, the Michi brings in important, the elements into it, important ideas he bring in. The first thing he says is, all I know about grammar is its infinite power to shift the structure of a sentence, alerts the meaning of that sentence, as definitely and inflexibly as the position of a camera alters the meaning of the object photographed. So she has compared the choice of words, the way you organize your sentence structures, with the position of a camera, like the way the camera is, done, like pan right and pan left, and then in terms of the way you position the camera, also bring the image or the picture, the way you want to design, the way you want. Similarly, the choice of word, the way you put your, the grammatical, the things into play, like, how to put it adverb or remove adverb, where to use adjective, where to use pronoun, things like that also will shape the meaning of your writing as well. Um, Similarly, another important thing that she says is grammar use can sometimes function as a form of resistance. Similarly, another thing she says is learning how to recognize and reflect on language as made and made to work on people's life is central to being able to use language strategically. How writers use language to construct identity, both that of self and other, and to position themselves alongside or in opposition to the status quo. And grammar skill and instruction are linked to cultural attitudes, beliefs, and assumptions. So again, so depending upon the culture, depending upon the beliefs, depending upon the attitudes and assumptions, sometimes the way you put it in the grammar is different. Okay, sometimes the way, for example, in Nepalese context. There is no article like a and the, but when it comes to English writing, there is, you should be very mindful of the article like a and the. So depending upon the cultures and the beliefs, the assumptions and the geographical limitations, we also have the how to use grammar as well. But this is a very some of the exceptional cases, but grammar always plays an important role in making your writing effective and persuasive and cohesive, and the proper composition of your ideas as well. So again, talking about grammar and writing, the one of the articles where Michelle says that, which was published in the Atlantic. She says that students are victim of the mistaken belief that grammar lessons must come before writing, rather than grammar being something that is best learned through writing. So when we're talking about the role of grammar, when we're talking about the role of grammar, we should remember one thing, that or we should not be completely shied away by the idea of grammar. When we emphasize grammar a lot more than the content, then again we end up not bringing the good content into play as well. So that's why, yes, grammar plays a very important role into making in making your writing more effective and persuasive. But that doesn't mean that you have to put grammar on top of the content as well. But first, content is very important. But after you finish writing a content, and then you can apply the strategy, the writing strategy, you can revise and rewrite and make it look more effective, in terms of grammar and composition as well. So again, talking about grammar and writing, and there are some instructions Michelle gives in her article. Teach students how to write grammatically by letting them write. So writing is very important than thinking about grammar at first. Many errors disappear from student writing when students focus on their ideas and stop trying to sound correct. So don't start thinking about sounding correct, before you start writing. Okay, so writing is more important. So focus on the content. Write your ideas in the paper, and then you can think about the other strategies of making your writing much better and effective. Okay, so again, when we talk about grammar and composition, there are so many things come into play. How you structure the sentence, how the subject and predicate cohere, and similarly the punctuation, where to put comma, and then the types of sentences, the structure of a sentence, long, short, the phrase, clause, and different parts of speech, how you have used them, the mood. There's tons of things that come into play when we talk about grammar and compositions. I'm not going to read all of them, but I just wanted to give you an example. And again, when we talk about basics of rhetorical grammar, there is a video, the basic of rhetorical grammar, recognizing independent clause, how those the usage of grammar also helps with rhetoric. That's something you want to take a quick look on YouTube videos. And again, part of speech, there are 8 parts of speech, like noun, pronouns, verbs, adverbs, adjective, preposition, conjunction, and articles. Knowing the right usage of them also will help you with the effectiveness of your writing as well. And again, the active voice and passive voice, that is a very important thing to talk about when it comes to writing, because most people use active writing. But again, in active voice, the subject becomes the main person, the doer becomes the main person. But in passive, the object becomes is emphasized. Okay, so again, depending upon the context and the intention, or the message you want to communicate, you will use active or passive voice. And again, whether you want to use long or short sentence, or the dictions, and the like the choice of words. And again, when I'm talking about signifiers and signified, it's more like the Ferdinand de Saussure's concepts. He's a linguist, and he talks about signifier is the many words are synonyms for the same signifier, for the same concept. For example, if you say cat, the word cat represents the picture, the image of the cat, but that the word that cat can be defined by so many other names in so many different languages. So there are multiple synonyms of the same word, but which word is much more appropriate is something that you will determine depending upon the type of message you want to communicate with your audience, and in terms of the effectiveness that you want to bring in your writing or in composition. Okay, that is what I have to say pretty much. And that's why I'm saying the role of grammar in writing always is acknowledged, or should be acknowledged. That is it. So the focus of this week is the role of grammar in rhetoric, and what do we mean by rhetorical, rhetorical, grammar, rhetorical grammar mean. So please go read some of the articles that have been posted to Georgia View, and if you have any questions, please let me know. All right, thank you.